All right, boys and girls, I want to talk about another version of my latest script to get the textures for all the DAS products. Here, I want to show you to start off with by showing my latest script and why, if you're not using the script, at the very least, you ought to be bringing in the textures manually. So, for example, here's a DAS product that I brought. It was a Gen 9 figure with a Pretorius outfit. And if I go through here, and I'm going to run my script, and then I'm going to cut out all of bring up the console log here, run my script, and show you the dramatic difference between this and having all the maps for it. So I go script, load Python, there. It's got to find where the outfit is. Remember, you always find out where your outfits are, and I'm going to show you some things about that too. And then we let it run. It may take a while, which is why I'm going to cut this out. But you have to be patient, particularly on environment maps, on large cell sets or something. I had one the other day that had over 4,000 maps, and it took about 3 minutes. But again, can you imagine putting in 4,000 maps by hand? It would take you hours and hours. So even if this takes, say, a minute, it's worth doing. I'm also going to show in this to keep some of you hanging around and not bored while all this is bringing the maps in, that how to get it set up for Pillow. You have to have the Pillow add-on. I guess it's a plugin, what add-on for Python in order to run this script. But it's very easy, and so we're going to go through the steps on how to do that. Uh, Also, you have to have my config file. Now, if you don't have my config file, when you first run this script, it will automatically generate the config file. So you can see there's the difference. So a little bit of a difference between the two. And you saw 217 maps. So even though that took, I don't know, 30, 40 seconds, maybe it took a minute, I'll have to time it out. Well worth the time and energy and effort, and you can go in and see all the maps that it put into these things. So there's lots of bump maps and metallics and height maps and just all kinds of stuff, roughness, and just a lot of things that you would never be able to get. It should get most all the maps. It's not perfect. There are some DAS developers that put some very non-standard things in, and it should tell you here when it finds something that it doesn't know what to do with. It will still work, but it will tell you, for example, that it couldn't finish the processing. In those cases, just go ahead and report back to me, and I will take care of it if I can. So let me talk a little bit about the config file, because you have to have the config file in here as well, and that is generated for you automatically. So I may cut out this while I find my own config file. Let's see where my config file is. There it is, DAS config. So if I open this up, it shows you. So it's a default file. So you can create this yourself in a text editor, any text editor that saves ASCII text. Or, like I say, it will be created by default in your documents directory. Now, notice my documents directory is D. It will find your own documents directory and put it in there, wherever it's normally the C documents or C user documents or whatever. It will find that. So here's the things. It shows you, first of all, the first thing is the directory that it writes temporary files in. So mine's E. I think by default it'll put yours in the root directory. So, but again, you can alter this and put anything you want. You can even put subdirectories in. DAS content, it has to know where your DAS content is located. And if you don't know that, or if you don't know how to find that, I can show you that. It's pretty easy to find when you bring up DAS itself and put it in. I can show you how to find. Well, we could talk about that. We could bring that up now. Let me also possibly cut that out for a second here. Let's see. We'll bring up DAS Studios. And while we're doing that, I'll bring up exports. Actually, I'm going to bring up my DAS content. I have my DAS content bookmarked because I want to definitely have that. And you can use props or avatars with costumes on it. It should get all of the stuff from everywhere. It shouldn't get anything, all the maps from anything. So, pirate chest. Okay, pirate chest, and get the stuff. Yeah, pirate chest. So, a DAS prop. So, you put in the DAS prop or whatever you have, put it in, and then if you go down to surfaces and you go to here, it tells you some of the maps that you have in here. So if you go to General, and you go to diffuse color, and I'm going to hovering it on there, you can see that it shows you the path for your DAS content. So once you put however you use to get stuff in, and I know the way I did it, a lot of you may use up here, you may get your content and drag content over. However you do that, once you get content, then you can go to any of the maps and you can see, I can't hover over this and show you at the same time, but it shows you where your DAS content, well, mine's just right in the E drive. But it shows you where those textures are located, and that's how you get your DAS content directory. So now if we go back to here and go to, so that's, you have to have the DAS content directory. Notice it's forward slashes, so / DAS content, but no slash at the end. The start directory is where it actually starts originally. I don't know if you notice, but when I go here and you go to run your script, when I first try to run it, that's where this comes up originally. Now, after you've run it, so it would first come up to this directory, and then you would find it. After you've run it, it will actually, and then you try running again, it will actually go back to the last directory you were in. And the reason for that is that sometimes it's just a lot easier not to have to, what am I trying to say? It's a lot easier if you have to run it multiple times not to. I'm trying to find a duff file here. Apparently there's anything. Let's see, where's some duff file? Where props? We're just at props. Okay, let's go to, I don't even know where those props were. Ancient coins. Okay, so it finds it finds the duff file, and then if you run it multiple times, it'll come back to that same directory. So that's all. It's just easier. But that's so it has the start directory there. And compress right for now you can leave as false, and that's capital FALSE. I had it before that it was compressing the files from 4K down to 1K because typically DAS files are 4K. And then I decided that, you know what, I'm going to let you do that yourself, that you can decide to compress or not. I'm going to have another program that compresses files because if we go back up to here and we cancel this out, certainly in Character Creator, when you export an avatar, you have the ability, if you go up here to export the avatar, you have the ability to compress all the files yourself. You can go ahead and limit the size of those files. So not so much if for an environment, if you have a scene or a major scene, you can't do that. So that's why I may make that separately in there. And then the last thing is the output directory. Once again, this is just for temp files. I use, it's a long, just trust me, just some kind of temp scratch directory that you have. So these are the DAS config that's normally located in your documents directory. But like I say, it's configured for you automatically, but it may not have probably doesn't have the right DAS content directory for you. So you go into DAS config and edit that if you want. So there's that. So that's how to do that. Always get the latest version of my program. Right now we're at 2.3, and I will put a link to that in this video, but 2.3 is looking pretty stable now. It has everything but environmental maps, which I think I'm going to get next. Again, sometimes when you load it on DAS Scene, they have the background, they have environmental maps, and I don't account for them. It will tell you here that it found an environmental map but didn't do anything with it. My next iteration will take that environment map and load it in the IBL scene. So it'll go into the visual and load it as an IBL right here, load it in as an IBL bitmap. So we'll see. But that's only for environments and only for those that have the environmental maps in them. So I think that's pretty much it, except for installing the pillow. And I'm going to link, instead of going through it again, I'm going to link to my video that explains how to do that. It's exactly the same for iClone 8 or for, I don't want that, for iClone 8 or for Character Creator, except that for iClone 8, I think it's called iClone PY, so that's always going to be the place. But for Character Creator, it's Character Creator PY. Okay, so that you'll substitute for it's .exe for the exe. Somebody asked me the other day. They said, I have Pillow installed and I'm still getting an error. Well, remember, when you're running this in, whether you're running this in Character Creator or iClone 8 or iClone 7, you have to have Pillow installed each and every time in that separate directories, because unfortunately the Python that's running is not the same Python. There's a separate Python in every single product. So there's a separate Python in Icon 7 and an Icon 8 and in Character Creator. It's not the same version. So you have to, not the same version, it might not have to be the same version, but it is not even the same instance of that Python. So you have to install Pillow in all those. So I will link to that video on how to do that. A lot of times if you're dragging your content from your content manager here, you may not know where the DUF file is, or you may make changes to your DUF file. For example, you might do things in here, you might add other items and things that you're still going to import over. One thing you can always do is you can save this yourself as a file, and that's the file you can use to bring in. So I'll show you, for example. First of all, we'll go ahead and do this normal export. You still have to, in order to get it into either Character Creator or iClone, you have to export it as an FBX. And of course, if it's an avatar with clothing, you can bring it in via transformer. But if it's, we'll get rid of this guy. Actually, well, no, we'll leave him. I think we can just still bring in the treasure chest without worrying about that. Let's see. I'll find out, won't I? I hate to learn things as I go here, but maybe we'll see. Okay, so treasure chest. We're going to drag and drop this in here, and it is indeed a prop, so we'll bring that in that way. And it's importing the FBX file into here. And let's see here. So as it imports it in, I can mention, so when you run my script, you have to have the item selected that you want to have all the maps found for. So if you have nothing selected, it'll tell you about that. Well, this is taking long. Okay, so here you have a treasure chest. So if we take this treasure chest, come on, calm down here. Okay, and we'll move it. Move the treasure chest only in the scene. Yes, treasure chest. Okay, good. And we'll move the treasure chest over here. So in order to get all the maps, you can see that it's not really gold looking, not much gold looking. So we have it selected. So normally I would have to go up and run my script and find out where that particular item was. But if you use DAS, as some people do, and be dragging over a library, you may not know where that DAS file is. Or, like I say, you may have made changes, you may have applied other materials. I showed this in one of my other videos, is that you can just apply materials and go ahead and just drag it up. So what you do is you go to File and Save As Scene. So that's the DUF file. And we're saving it in the export directory. It's really easy for me here. Treasure chest. And the saving is a DUF file. So now, when I come up here and run my script, I can actually go to that export directory. Exports here, and that DUF file that I saved will actually have the textures in it from that we have to find. So that's another way that you can, and again, it really works really useful, and I showed this in my other video. If I had another color combination for this outfit, okay, so here's one thing you can do. So you have an item, this is a particular clothing thing set, and you have different material textures that you can put in. So, for example, here's a blue one. So if I can drag and drop this into this thing for DAS, that's a blue one. So I can go out and save this file as a DUF file. So I call War Control Blue. And I can do that multiple times with all these other ones. I'm not going to do it with all of them, but just so you can get an idea. So you can get the different colors and textures. And if I do this and save these as DUF files, then when I come in here and I have my project loaded in and selected, this is the same thing I brought in through Transformer. I don't have to bring it back in through Transformer. I can just go in here with my script, load this in, and for example, take War Troll Emerald. And what it will do is it will load the textures in that were saved out from that DUF file, and so you get all the maps that way. So that's a quick and easy way of getting in all the outfits and textures and maps that you want to do. By the way, a lot of times in DAS it says IRA, but those maps actually work just fine in our products. So. And as always, please give me feedback. You can write to me at mike@kelleytown.com, Kelley, town.com. And if you don't hear back from me that day, then I didn't get your email, because I always respond to emails. And hopefully, by bringing in, like I say, this will do sets, characters, gets almost all the maps. I would say it works about 97 or 98% of the time. There's 1 or 2% that even I can't deal with, and those you'll have to just do manually. But it should give you a warning in the, once again, if you have the console log, you go to the script, console log, always bring that up so you can see what's going on, and that will tell you what it's doing. So hopefully this helps, and I guess I will see you around on the forums.